Cities are overcrowded, housing is scarce, social systems are under pressure, and millions of people are asking the same uncomfortable question: can Germany still afford the model that once made it successful? Because what started as a migration challenge has quietly evolved into something much bigger: a structural economic crisis that Germany was not prepared for. This is not about ideology. This is not about politics. This is about numbers, capacity, and limits. And the warning signs are no longer subtle. The migration pressure that changed everything. Germany has taken in more migrants than any other country in Europe over the past decade. From humanitarian arrivals to asylum seekers and economic migrants, the scale has been unprecedented. In theory, migration was supposed to solve Germany's biggest long-term problem: demographic decline, fewer workers, an aging population, rising pension costs. Migration was framed as the solution, but reality turned out to be far more complicated. Many newcomers arrived without immediate access to the labor market. Language barriers, qualification mismatches, and bureaucratic delays slowed integration, and instead of strengthening productivity, migration began to strain public systems. Housing demand exploded, social benefits expanded, local governments struggled to keep up. What was manageable at first became overwhelming over time. Housing, the first system to crack. Germany's housing market was never built for this level of demand. Major cities like Berlin, Hamburg, Munich, and Frankfurt already faced shortages. Migration accelerated the crisis dramatically. Rents surged. Vacancy rates collapsed. Public housing waiting lists grew longer every year. Middle-class families were pushed out of city centers. Young Germans delayed starting families. Construction failed to keep pace due to regulations, labor shortages, and rising material costs. Housing stopped being a social issue and became an economic one. When people cannot afford to live near their jobs, productivity suffers. When wages fail to keep up with rent, consumption slows. Germany's consumer engine began to weaken quietly long before headlines caught up. Welfare. State under strain. Germany's social model is one of the most generous in the world. Healthcare, unemployment benefits, housing assistance, child allowances. But generous systems rely on one critical assumption: more contributors than recipients. Migration disrupted that balance. A significant portion of newcomers required long-term assistance before entering the workforce. At the same time, Germany's native population continued to age out of employment. The result? Higher spending, slower tax revenue growth, rising pressure on public budgets. Local governments began warning that they were reaching capacity. Federal transfers increased, deficits widened. Germany didn't collapse, but it started running on borrowed time. Energy shock, the second major blow. Just as migration pressures mounted, Germany faced an energy crisis. The country had built its industrial success on one key advantage: cheap, reliable energy. That advantage disappeared almost overnight. Energy prices surged, manufacturing costs skyrocketed, energy-intensive industries lost competitiveness, chemical plants scaled back, steel production slowed, factories reduced shifts or relocated abroad. Germany's export model, the backbone of its economy, started to crack. This wasn't a temporary shock. It exposed how fragile Germany's industrial foundation had become. De-industrialization in slow motion. For decades, Germany was Europe's factory: precision engineering, automobiles, machinery, chemicals. But today, companies are quietly making different decisions. New investments are going to the United States. Expansion plans are shifting to Asia. Production lines are being downsized or automated away. Germany is not collapsing dramatically. It is shrinking strategically, and that may be even more dangerous. When industry leaves slowly, politicians delay action. When jobs disappear gradually, voters don't panic until it's too late. Productivity, stagnation. Migration alone cannot solve economic decline without productivity growth, and Germany's productivity has stagnated. Digital infrastructure lags behind competitors. Bureaucracy remains heavy. Innovation cycles are slow. Small and medium-sized businesses, the backbone of the German economy, are struggling. High energy costs, rising wages without matching output, complex regulations. Many firms are surviving, not growing, An economy that stops growing eventually starts declining, even if unemployment stays low for a while. Labor market. Paradox Germany officially needs workers, but employers can't always find the right ones. There is a mismatch between labor demand and labor supply. Skilled positions remain unfilled. At the same time, unemployment among certain groups remains elevated. Migration did not automatically translate into workforce integration. Training takes time. Education systems are overwhelmed. Language proficiency remains a barrier. Instead of solving labor shortages, Germany ended up with parallel labor markets. This reduces efficiency and increases inequality, the middle class squeeze. Perhaps the most alarming sign is the pressure on Germany's middle class. Rising taxes, higher energy bills, expensive housing, slower wage growth. For decades, the middle class absorbed economic shocks quietly. Now, that buffer is thinning. Savings are being spent, consumption is cautious, confidence is fading, and when the middle class loses confidence, economic momentum slows dramatically. Political fragmentation as an economic signal. Economic stress doesn't stay economic for long, it turns political. Germany is seeing rising polarization, not because of ideology, but because of uncertainty. People feel that the system no longer works as promised, that stability is no longer guaranteed, that the future is less predictable than the past. Political fragmentation is not the cause of Germany's crisis, it is the symptom. Why this crisis is different. Germany has faced crises before. Reunification, global financial shocks, pandemics, but this time is different. This crisis is structural. It combines demographic decline, migration pressure, energy vulnerability, industrial slowdown, welfare state overload. There is no single fix, and no quick recovery. Can Germany recover? Yes, but not without difficult choices. Migration policy needs realism, not slogans. Integration must be faster and stricter. Energy strategy must balance sustainability with affordability. Industry needs incentives to stay. Bureaucracy must shrink. Most importantly, Germany must redefine its economic model for a new era. The old formula no longer works. Conclusion. A warning, not a collapse. Germany is not failing, but it is drifting, and drift is dangerous for an economy built on precision. What happens next will matter not only for Germany, but for all of Europe. Because when Europe's engine slows down, the entire continent feels the vibration. The question is no longer whether Germany faces an economic crisis. The real question is, how much time does it have left to change course?